So recently I was in a shop and I came across this. I didn't pay full price for it, it was discounted, so I purchased it. My intention is to buy a Nintendo Switch months from now, but that's the idea. And my major concern was, how do I use this thing when I'm out on the go? Spoiler alert, spend about $100 and buy a battery bank. It is going to be cheaper. Whereas I thought I could use this for hooking up to a lithium polymer battery or lithium ion battery and running it off that. It would take a lot more. After looking online and buying proper equipment, you're looking at over $100. And that's if you don't get things on special. So my idea, and I'll try to put this in a very simple way. So you'd have one of these. Thank you, drawing. Then you'd have some kind of BMS. And then finally, you'd have your huge ass battery. Now, following that, you could also run off here a 5-volt regulator. And you can use that to charge things like your phone or anything else that runs off USB. But to get a battery that's, say, 5 volts, you're looking at about $60 for something that's 4,000 milliamp hour. Basically, your voltage, your cost, and how much power you'll have, which should be more than enough to charge a Switch a couple of times. This, however, will take something like 3 to 4 hours to fully charge a Switch, from what I understand. I haven't been able to experiment with it because I don't have the money to go out and buy a Nintendo Switch. I did, however, have the money to buy this thing that was discounted on a whim, which I'm regretting now. But with that said, I'm still going to do a unboxing. This idea would be fun. This idea would be nice. I have access to a 3D printer, so I could make a nice case for everything. But I just don't have that money to do it. So that's fun. The thing that really confuses me is how the reports that came out about people's Switches dying because they were using third-party equipment. So buying your original stuff is always best. Do I have something I can use to cut that with? It's always nice to have those multi-tool kits on hand. Multi-screwdriver bits. And fortunately, I have a Switch to try this with. Nintendo card charger. Does this have any information that's going to be useful? No. So nothing detailing about the actual time it will take to charge it from, say, 50%, 20%. just some general information. That's disappointing. I mean, the only thing on here that gives you any detail about the kind of power it has is the 5-volt 3-amp thing. Turns out that in order for the Nintendo Switch to fully charge, it needs 15 volts. This, I'm not going to question that it will charge it, but so that's something I didn't notice before. The cable's braided. It's also a bit stiff. Okay. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how do you replace the fuse? I honestly can't see. Let's find out what's under that label. Oh, there goes me getting my money back. But there's nothing. So looking at this, interesting. Just a sec, I'm going to go grab something. Okay, so with the BMSs, this is a cheap Chinese one that I've purchased, and I haven't had much luck, although I'm pretty sure there's definitely going to be something wrong with these cells. So if I had the money to purchase new cells, I would probably use them. And this would actually be useful because it does put out the, oh, it's not 11.5, it's 11.1. Ooh, also does 14.8. Interesting. Okay. Now with a regular boosting circuit, you'd be able to get the full voltage that you wanted out of it. To be honest, this is the first thing I've ever purchased that had USB-C on it. And it's not even standard. Ooh, hello, you're coming up. So from here I can see some electronics. This is concerning. So it's only held in place with little Honestly, this is held in good, but there is nothing preventing any liquids from seeping inside. That's concerning. So, the thing that I'm going to want to try to avoid doing is cutting that cable. Top one should come off. honestly, I can understand the reason why they'd have these little question mark boxes as removable. I mean, when it comes to actually manufacturing this in the mold, it wouldn't be sensible or really that easy to have it like this. But these holes head straight into the electronics. That's dangerous. Liquid could, water or soft drink could get in there and really screw things up for you. So if you do have one of these, do make sure that you don't get it wet. See, the sealant didn't occur properly over here, but over on this side, looks like it actually melted properly. Just another second. So looking in here, I might be able to pop that front one off without much of a fight. Or I could be horribly wrong. I will say it is tempting to just smash this thing open, but I would kind of like to use it, preferably in the future. So there are those three off. Looking at the braided cable, I'm not 100% sure about that. It looks nice, but there we go. Okay, so it doesn't appear to actually be completely glued together. Nah, it's been sonic welded. Alright, so that knob just flew off right at me. Ah, we're inside. Okay, so it's got some nice elastic on here. It's white crap, which I'm trying to buy for myself. I think I may have found some useful stuff from our local electronics supplier. It's just getting it. Now let's take this off. Well, as a total novice, I'm going to say this. I like the fact that this charger has these screws to reinforce it. I am a bit perplexed as to why it has the fuse like that. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if the spring was shorter and you had a fuse that you could take off. Okay, that's probably just a little too long for my liking, but... So, if I bring this up and get some focus. So this little, what I believe is a transistor. Yeah, as you can see how these two legs are sticking out way too much. I'd like to have seen them cut down a lot shorter. I would be a bit concerned if these two legs here were to touch. While over here you've got this inductor. And that's elastic just there. Looks like it's purposely been yeah, it's purposely on there. This elastic stuff must, so I'm guessing this is a heat shield. Not a heat shield, sorry, for dissipating heat. Oh, there's even some numbers on here. Put this up the right way. As for in here, some more information. So this is definitely two separate boards. This would be useful for me because I can detach this. I would need to make sure I threw in that capacitor and this fuse. Now, technically, it is a replaceable fuse. You still would have to desolder these two pins. I'm not even focusing on the... Is that working? There. So you'd have to desolder this pin and this pin to be able to replace that fuse, but you could reuse the legs. Still, I'd feel much better if this fuse was where this spring is. And here's the knob to it, if anyone's curious. So yeah, it just sits on like that. Honestly, without taking too much of a closer look at this whole thing, Texas Instruments. Yeah. Didn't mean to bump it. It's this IC that I was looking at. So two inductors. I'm kind of curious at what these two chips are under here. So it's interesting to see this is modular. Yeah, I like this. Now if we take a closer look at this cage, or the plastic for it, it appears to have been sonic welded here, down here. So it looks like I could actually reassemble this, and these would hold it in place. So hold it together. But the design, where's all that dirt from? I like the board, to be honest. I dislike the fact the fuse has been soldered in. I dislike the fact that this isn't designed to be taken apart to be fixed. So it's for a normal person, it's going to be oh, now it doesn't work, I'm just going to throw it out. Not that happy. I'm not too happy with how long these legs are. To be very critical, I should have a pair of cutters that I went window shopping and found some, but I haven't ordered them yet. I probably won't for a couple of weeks, but I would snap those off right now. I do like the Slastic that it's glue. The downside is that there didn't take too much, there was no real concern with waterproofing. So if this gets wet, let it dry out for a couple of days, and then you'd want to pull it apart and give it a good clean with isopropylene because it could go south. But if this was generally kept in a car, looked after, I could see it useful. Although if I was using this when I'm out and about walking, I would be a bit concerned. First off, dust is going to get inside this thing very easily, and that is concerning to me. There's another, what looks to be another screw mount. So you could, could have been screwed down harder. Oh, there could have been extra reinforcements in that. That's an interesting design change. They didn't actually use it. Honestly, it is nice being able to pull apart stuff that's been designed properly. Well, at least for the most part, designed properly. That goes back on here. So the other thing is, when you look at this, you'll notice that you've got this large bit of flat plastic here. That is to effectively prevent this from popping out. Or it does two things. It also holds the board down. Get that knob back in there. Come on. Close up tight. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like I may have put a little too much pressure and knocked out this little stud here, which I don't think I'm going to try to pull off right now. But it helps with the alignment of the case, so that should go in like that. That should go there, and this should go in on the top. There we go. And it snaps back in place. Okay, so my thoughts on this. Probably could have made it a little bit more water and dust proof, but then again, it's supposed to just sit in a car all day. So that area is going to pick up a few things. Water damage to this is something I'm concerned about. So this can be anything from someone drinking some irregular water to soft drink, or anything else that someone might be eating can get into this quite easily. The fuse I wish was more user replaceable and not something you had to pull the thing apart in a semi-destructive way. The cable's nice. It looks nice. It's got a bit of a rigid feel to it. I'd say probably for my use it'll be long enough, but yeah, I would like to get a hold of the other one, the standard sort of little black one, but couldn't find it in my local store for some reason. I did take a poke around a few others, and the normal one isn't being sold on shelf. You can still order it from online, but I like the idea about walking into a store and actually buying something. A lot of the time. I do buy a lot of things online, but each to their own. So I will not be taking this back to the store and getting a refund, not just because I pulled it apart, but honestly, later on I would like to give it a try if I ever get the battery and can buy the BMS. But in general, I think my sort of approach from the future on will be buying one of these $100 battery banks if I can ever save the money up for it. But anyway, it's an interesting little experience. Don't often get to pull apart things that are properly made, and just a few little concerns. Still, let's put my mind at rest a little. Anyway, nice video. Ooh, that was completely